What's up, Sooner Nation, and welcome back to another edition of the WhackoWeekly podcast, where we go over all things OU football from the last week. I'm Steve Curtis, the voice behind Wacko Sooners, and I'm not going to lie, I've kind of missed having these WhackoWeekly updates, right? We've been doing the Wacko previews and Wacko reviews so much throughout the season that the weekly's kind of fallen off, but here we are. Here we are now that we're kind of in that lull between the regular season and the postseason. And speaking of the postseason, your Oklahoma Sooners are sitting comfortably at that 8th seed in the college football playoff. They're set to host the Alabama Crimson Tide next Friday, December 19th, 7 p.m. Central Time on Owen Field in Norman, Oklahoma, for their first college football playoff appearance in 6 years since Jalen Hurts led Oklahoma to the college football playoff and got whooped by Joe Burrow and Coach O and the LSU Tigers, that crazy game, that crazy team. But we're back in the playoffs, guys. Love it. We're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about a few updates regarding recruiting, a brief overview of the 2026 class if you missed our Wacko recruiting special on Friday in that regular Wacko preview slot where we broke down all 24 commits of the cycle. And we're also going to talk about a couple of updates that have come in about the 2027 class in the last couple of weeks as well. But as always, here at Wacko Sooners, we love providing OU football content for you. If you want to stay in the Wacko loop, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell button so you never miss an episode. Plus, you can follow us on all of our socials, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter X, all at Wacko Sooners for live news updates, some game highlights, and of course some memes and reels to keep it lighthearted and fun here, like we like it in Sooner Nation, especially because we have so much to be excited about since we're going to the college football playoff after a disastrous 2024 and the amazing turnaround that has followed it since. So to stay in the Wacko loop, go hit those follows so you never miss a thing. We'd love to have you. All right. So recruiting, let's start off there. So National Signing Day for that early signing period, so I guess I should say early signing day, was last Wednesday. Oklahoma scored 24 commits, 12 on each side of the ball, 12 offense, 12 defense. Came in ranked as the 17th class in the nation. And honestly, I'm pretty dang happy with it. I'm not going to lie. It's not the flashiest class of all. It's not a top 10 class, not a top 5 class, sure. But I'm honestly really happy with the picks that we got out of it. Of course, you've got quarterback. Great get in Bentley, undefeated in his 2 years as a starter down in Salina. 2-time state champion, back-to-back. And he did it with a banged-up shoulder as well here on Friday. Got a good pair of offensive linemen coming in with Deacon Schmidt and Noah Best. They both play a lot on the interior, so we'll probably see them come in to help a little bit once Febechi Wewu leaves after this season. Pretty dang good pair of running backs. Jonathan Hatton, a Texas A&M flip, who was originally committed to OU before he flipped to A&M, then he flipped back to OU. 4-star out of Cibola. Absolutely fantastic, totally talented, totally gifted. Can't wait to see what DeMarco Murray's going to make out of him, as well as DeZephan Walker, another running back in the 2026 cycle. Now, what I'm really happy about here is wide receiver. Oklahoma had four wide receivers this cycle: Jaden Petit, Jasir Rogers, Daniel Odom, and Xavier Orzizi Okwufuleze. And 3 of them are pretty dang big, all right? So, of course, Jasir Rogers, he's 5'10.5". But then the other 3 are 6'2", 6'4", and 6'4". The way that Jim Nagy put it in his early signing day press conference was, we didn't necessarily look to go build a basketball team in the wide receiver room, but it ended up working that way, so we're good. You love that. Really happy about that, with giants coming in to be wideouts, because that is something that Oklahoma's been missing lately at wide receiver. And this is not a knock on our current receivers in Satania and Burks. It's simply that our receivers at this moment in time are not big enough and fast enough at the same time to go beat defensive backs and go up for contested catches. Because Giovanni Gibson and Jermichael Carter, they're big dudes. Keontez Lewis, bigger dude. But they're not the fastest guys on the field. Isaiah Satania, Deion Burks, they're fast, but they're not huge, and they're not going up with those contested catches. So great. Hopefully we're getting that kind of a duality in these new receivers coming in. I'd be shocked if Jaden Petit did not see significant playing time, potentially even starting early in 2026. But that is another discussion for another time. Also, a good pair of tight ends in Tyler Ruxer and Ryder Mix. They're both going to be absolutely fantastic, talented. Tyler Ruxer, I believe, is the fastest tight end in the 2026 class. Love it. Absolutely love it. And after seeing how Joe John Finley has helped Jaron Kanek develop from linebacker his junior year immediately to tight end, and Jaron Kanek's already over 500 yards this season, that's a testament to Joe John. Joe John will develop these guys just fine. If he's able to take a guy that hasn't played on offense in years and make him this good, give him the right tools with Tyler Ruxer and Ryder Mix, these guys are probably going to be pretty dang special in my opinion. And then, of course, pretty dang good kicker to work under Tate Sandel's tutelage in 2026 and assume his throne after he leaves it for 2027. Trace Rudd kind of reminds people of Tate Sandel, the way that he moves around with his attitude. Because Tate Sandel, mean pitbull machine, Captain Underpants. Yes, sir. Then on the defensive side of the ball, some really good gets. I'd say probably the three most important ones there. Jake Kreul at edge. Of course, everyone knows the demon from IMG coming in. Kid's got so much juice, so much energy. Can't wait to have him. Jacob Curry at linebacker and Derek Johnson at corner. All three of them are 4 stars. Then you've got some other great gets up there in the front 7. Matthew Nelson, Dane Bathurst, and Daniel Norman at edge. You've got Brian Harris, Tank Carrington, and Megatron Moore at defensive tackle. And then Bo Jandro at linebacker. And then you got a couple good more safeties back there, right? You've got Markel Ford and Bo's twin brother, Nico Jandro, coming in there in the secondary. So again, overall, I'm really happy with the class. They all really seem to fit that culture that BV's been building, just listening to their interviews as signing day was coming around. Again, particularly happy at wide receiver, especially with the size coming in there. Absolutely excited about that. Would love to see the bigger guys get some attention. Hopefully, Giovanni will be healthier next year as well. Jermichael Carter will see some more of the field. Elijah Thomas as well in his sophomore season. So hopefully should have a pretty dang good room of bigger wide receivers, and we'll still have Satania, and he'll still be working his stuff in the slot there. So hopefully wide receiver will be a big step up next year. I think Jonathan Hatton at running back is going to be great with Xavier Robinson and Torrey Blaylock ahead of him. I don't think he'll necessarily be the primary feature, but I still think he'll see some significant snaps. However, we did see X, his freshman year, show up late in the season and kind of take over. We saw Torrey earlier this season as a true freshman take over. You never know what's going to happen with these guys. And with DeMarco Murray, there's a lot of experience there. Now, I've been critical of DeMarco Murray as running backs coach, and that's not a secret, and I think it's valid to have those kind of concerns about how his running backs have produced since he came to Oklahoma and how there has been a decline. But hopefully this can add to a turnaround because it's been looking better this year. X and Torrey have both been playing really well, honestly. Not showing it in the numbers necessarily, but they're playing a lot better, in my opinion, just watching them and what they are doing and how they're thinking about the game. They're doing much better than their predecessors have in the last couple of years. Now, defensive side of the ball, just overall, great class. I don't care what their rankings are, their stars are. Any defensive recruit that this staff thinks is worth recruiting and bringing in, this staff will develop them and they will become monsters. They will be fantastic. That I have no doubt whatsoever. The defense is going to be great. The offense, I think, with Arbelka having some crazier experience under his belt, playing a year in the SEC, or coaching a year in the SEC, I should say, and his system, being able to hone it to the competition he's been coaching against this year, I think that the offense is going to take a step up, especially with some of these newer recruits we're bringing in. Now, the 2027 cycle. All right, currently, Oklahoma comes in ranked as second per On3 in Rivals. Texas Tech is number 1. But OU's got 11 commits so far. All right, and we'll just kind of go through the list real quick. 5-star offensive tackle Cooper Hackett out of Fort Gibson, Oklahoma. And 4-star offensive tackle Kaeden Penny from Bixby, Oklahoma. They are the top 2 recruits in the state of Oklahoma for the 2027 cycle. So go OU front office for making sure that we keep those kids in state, taking care of our homeboys. Then you've got 4-star wide receiver Demario DeJearn out of Pacific Palisades, California. 4-star edge Krew Jones, Millville, Utah. 4-star defensive tackle Elija Harmon, Inglewood, California. He committed yesterday on Sunday. Then 4-star cornerback Michael McCreary out of San Antonio, Texas. Then down to the 3 stars, you've got cornerback Michael Davis out of Phoenix, Arizona. 3-star offensive tackle Luke Wilson, Southlake, Texas. 3-star running back Jackson Stokes from Chatsworth, California. Wide receiver Trayvon Hall, Tuscaloosa, Alabama, also 3-star. And then unranked running back Keldred Ben from Montgomery, Texas. So love definitely the top half of that class. I'm liking the bottom half because, I mean, heck, you've got 2 of the best offensive linemen in the 2027 cycle. You've got good wide receiver in there. You've got a couple guys on defense that you really want. Some diamonds in the rough, a little bit lower on offense in Stokes, Hall, and Ben, but ultimately, now of course, this is all a year in advance. Everything will look totally different in 12 months when we are doing the 2027 Wacko Recruiting Special. Now that being said, still happy with how it's looking right now. 11 commits. 11 commits is huge. And second ranked class in the country, huge. And with Jim Nagy and his front office that he's pulled together, getting on these recruits the way that they want to early. Because remember, the 2025 class, I mean, heck, yeah, they didn't even know some of the kids that they were bringing in. Or no, for this 2026 class, they didn't know everyone that they were bringing in for OVs in the summertime. There were kids that they hadn't even met yet. And Jim Nagy even said during SEC Media Days back in July, yeah, that's not happening again. So he's getting his rhythm down on the kind of recruiting he wants to do and the kind of kids he wants. So clearly, so far, I mean, recruiting's doing really good. You've got, what, a 5-star, and then you've got 5 4-stars. You've got a 5-star, and you've got 5 4s in this class so far. Now, of course, everything could possibly change, all right, with the way that recruiting works these days and flips and NIL. It is not set in stone until the ink is dry on signing day next December. But, yeah, really happy, especially in the trenches, too, because, of course, you've got Hackett and Penny on the O-line, and then you've got Krew Jones and Elija Harmon there on the defensive line coming in. And everyone knows the SEC, it's a game of trenches here. So getting those guys in is going to be a massive point in the years to come. I think Hackett and Penny on the O-line are going to be major contributors early, a bit like Fasusi and Foje have been this year, potentially the way that Schmidt and Best will be in 2026. And then Jones and Harmon, again, as I just mentioned, they're going to be huge potential. Now, given how the competitive depth has shaped up on the defensive line at Oklahoma under Todd Bates, Miguel Chavis, Brent Venables, they might not see a lot of playing time their freshman year. And they have to wait their turn, which is okay too, because we're seeing Danny Okoye come around. That's how we got Taylor Wine to come around this season with all the development that he's had. So ultimately, it'll just be a game of seeing how they shape up and how it looks. But ultimately, this class is looking really good. Really happy with it so far. Of course, still a year in advance. But we will keep you appraised as we have updates whenever they come in. You can always see our recruiting updates on our Instagram. We always post every commitment, every decommitment, flips. And of course, you know, early signing day, we did a whole defensive side of the ball, offensive side of the ball, just a list of all the commits as well. You can check that out on our Instagram and our TikTok at Wacko Sooners. All right, next up, CFP. I've got some grievances with this thing. I don't know how I feel about this. Now, obviously, OU's hosting a playoff game, so I'm happy about that, absolutely. For a while there, I was worried that we weren't going to get the home game if BYU beat Texas Tech or if Alabama beat Georgia. Because remember, BYU and Bama were both below Oklahoma on Saturday morning before all the conference championship games. So was worried about that. Now, of course, Georgia and Texas Tech pulled through and held on, or not even held on, they both dominated, actually. So OU gets to keep that 8th spot and gets to host a playoff game. Fantastic. Aside from that, I've got a couple complaints here. So first of all, Indiana now, after beating Ohio State in the Big Ten Championship, 13-10, no complaints. Ohio State now down to 2. They're a good team. Do not get me wrong. I think Ohio State is a good team and they're a healthy team. But why are they healthy? Why do I think they shouldn't be at 2 and they should be at least at 3 or 4? They've had a Mickey Mouse schedule. It has been the Mickey Mouse clubhouse up there in Columbus, okay? And when they finally faced another good team, they fell short. We saw it against Texas. Texas, objectively, is a pretty decent team. And Ohio State managed to win that one. But they barely were able to score. They suffocated on defense. But they held Indiana to 13. Which, great defense. Don't get me wrong. Absolutely great defense. Anytime you're holding your opponent to 13, fantastic. But I'm not convinced that a conference championship loss late in the season does not warrant a drop to at least 3 when Georgia dominates Alabama in the SEC championship. And their loss was, I think, in week 4 or 5. It was early in the season that Georgia lost to Alabama. So if it were up to me, Ohio State would be down to 3. Probably Georgia would be up to 2. I'm content. So given that Ohio State's sitting at 2, I'm happy where Georgia is. Texas Tech at 4. I'm sorry to all the Red Raiders out there. I just don't think that they have the personnel to compete with SEC and Big Ten trenches when the time comes. And because of the Big 12 being the Big 12, their resume to me is not that impressive. Sure, it is hard to win 12 out of 13 games. Absolutely. That is a tough thing to do, and you get props for that in my book. But the Big 12 is the Big 12. You put Texas Tech in the SEC or the Big 10, or heck, Big 10 even less so because the Big 10 is just top-heavy. The top, probably 6 teams are worth mentioning. The other 12 are pretty rough around the edges and cannibalistic almost. I just don't think Texas Tech will be able to compete when all is said and done with Oregon when they play Oregon in the semifinals, because let's be honest, Oregon is going to whoop JMU. And heck, Texas Tech playing against Indiana in the semifinal, or Alabama, or Oklahoma, if that's how it shapes up. I just don't see Texas Tech being able to compete consistently with these heavier trenches that are such a big part of the SEC and the Big Ten. And yes, I'm already leaning Oregon to beat Texas Tech. I would go ahead and make that pick today, and I will make that pick when it comes time for that game as well. Oregon at 5. I want to complain again because Big Ten Mickey Mouse. You lose to, who did they, I think they lost to Indiana, was it not? Let's double check this. I probably should have double checked this before, but alas. Yes, they lost to Indiana by 10. All right, they lost to Indiana in October. So I can't complain because Oregon's 11-1. But at the same time, Big Ten, Mickey Mouse. Because let's look at the rest of that schedule, okay? They had Montana State, Oklahoma State, Northwestern, Oregon State. Penn State, when they played them at the time, they were ranked, and Oregon only won by 6. But given where Penn State has ended, not that impressive to me. They lost to Indiana by 10. Fine. That's a solid loss, given that Indiana's continue to be number 1. Or is now number 1, I should say. They continued being number 2. Then they beat Rutgers by 46, beat Wisconsin by only 14. Dude. Then Iowa by 2. Then Minnesota, and then they beat USC by, 15? Yeah, then they beat Washington by 12. The resume is not that impressive to me. I think they belong in the playoff, absolutely. But I'm not impressed by the resume to the point where they are number 5 in the country. I'm just not. Again, Oklahoma fan hat off. Oklahoma's resume of 10-2, the opponents they've played, and the losses that they have being to top 15 or 16 team? Where's Texas? Yeah, Texas is ranked 13th. So Oklahoma having 2 top 15 losses, sitting at 10-2, playing in some of the most hostile environments in college football, going on the road and winning at Tennessee and at Alabama. Objectively, Oklahoma's resume to me, remember, fan hat off. OU's resume is more impressive to me than Oregon's. Sorry, I said what I said. Fan hat back on. However, I will give Oregon credit where credit is due, because USC has been fairly decent this year. If I'm not mistaken, they finished at 9-3. Yeah, they finished 9-3, 17-2 in conference play. So, I mean, yeah, I'll give Oregon credit there. But again, resume overall, you've not dominated everyone that you're supposed to, and you've not played a particularly tough schedule either. Now, Ole Miss at 6, no complaints. I'm not buying into the whole they don't have their head coach, so they should be way lower. I think there's going to be a step back on the offense, but we'll see the Pete Golding, Trinidad Chambliss experiment coming up. That will be an interesting matchup to watch when they host Tulane here next weekend. Texas A&M at 7, no complaints. Oklahoma at 8, no complaints. I'm actually really happy sitting at number 8. I'm just happy that we're somewhere between 8 and 5, or 5 and 8, somewhere in those mid-4 teams, just because that means we get to host a playoff game, and I'm going. Can't wait. It's going to be awesome. Alabama at 9. Okay. As much as I love the opportunity for BV to beat the crap out of Alabama for a third time in 13 months, that's not going to happen. Yes, it entirely could. I don't know. I'm not making my picks yet. That is for next Thursday's Wacko preview. But 2 regular season losses, one in week 1 to Florida State, who ended up going 5-7. That's not a good look, buddy. Now, granted, it was week 1. You didn't have much to work with, and you were still ironing some stuff out. Then you looked really good from there to about mid-season. And then everything just kind of started slowing down. And it's just like, okay, what are we doing? Just a couple close losses, or wins, I should say, that you didn't need to have. Like the South Carolina game didn't look great. Against Georgia even, yes, you beat Georgia, but you didn't score at all in the second half. What else we got? Let's take a look at this. Didn't really put the belt to Wisconsin. You only beat them by, what was it, 24? I mean, yes, but you probably could have beat them by way more than that. And then after the Vanderbilt game, it really just kind of fell off because, like, Mizzou, you beat them by 3 off a pick to save the drive. You go into Tennessee, you cook them because that's just because Tennessee doesn't have a defense. South Carolina game, 29-22, after Oklahoma had held them to only 7. Dude, LSU, you beat them, but it's 20-9. And I think you only scored a field goal in the entire second half. And then Oklahoma, obviously, you lost that 23-21. You turned the ball over. You were inconsistent on offense. And your quarterback, once faced with tons of pressure, made poor decisions and could not hold on to the ball. That interception to Eli Bowen, I don't care what Alabama fans say. Oklahoma didn't get lucky. They forced that interception. Kip Lewis gave Ty such a different look where he was not expecting him up that gap that the O-line just left completely wide open for him. Kip fooled the O-line. He fooled the quarterback, got the pressure on. Simpson made an errant throw. Eli picked it off and took it into the house. The Taylor Wine strip sack, that was forced. Buddy came in off the edge and walloped him. The Jaden Hardy forced fumble on the punt return, that was forced. It was a peanut punch. Those 3 turnovers, all were forced. None were by luck. They were all by design. All right? Then, of course, Eastern Illinois, Alabama got mad and came back. Ty Simpson had a rough day, though, if I remember correctly. Then the Iron Bowl wasn't pretty, man. Beat them by 7. I don't care that it's at Jordan Hare. You should be dominating a 5-6 Auburn team that's been terrible on offense. I don't care how good their defense is. If you're as good as you say you are and have been pretending to be all year, it shouldn't be that close. And then, of course, the SEC championship on Saturday, just an absolute nightmare for Alabama fans. -3 rushing yards, 212 passing yards, right? So that's only a total of 209 passing yards altogether. And Simpson threw an interception. Now, granted, that's sack yards factored in tackles for loss, sure, but at the end of the day, just got absolutely destroyed. So, point being, the overall inconsistency in this back half of the season, not great. And late season losses, not carrying as much weight as they should. Now, they played in the SEC championship game. I think Alabama does deserve to be in the college football playoff. I do not think that they should be at 9. I don't think that they should be at the 9 seed because you lost in what would it have been, week 12 at home, homecoming, which you planned so you could beat the people that beat you badly last year and you fell short. Then you get dog walked, pun intended, in the SEC championship game. You shouldn't be the 9th seed. Now, how would I rectify that? We'll talk about that in a minute. Miami at 10. This is huge. The committee did the right thing. Notre Dame should not have been ahead of Miami at any time this season because the resumes are not comparable. Out of the 3 real opponents that Notre Dame played this season in Texas A&M, Miami, and USC, Notre Dame is 1-2. And Notre Dame fans are crying. Now, I understand that they're crying about being left out of the playoff because it was dangled in front of them for so long. And that's on the committee. The committee should not have put Notre Dame ahead of Miami at any time. Because when you look at their resumes, equal record, 10-2. But then you look at their, I think it was either 3 or 4 common opponents. Miami beat all of them by a wider margin of victory, held the opponent to fewer points, and scored more points. And Miami had the head-to-head. The only difference was that Miami lost games later in the season. 2 lesser opponents, sure, but record's still the same. Common opponents, margin was greater. And yet, when BYU loses to Texas Tech in the Big 12 Championship, of course, Miami moves up from 12 to 11, and when they're back-to-back in the playoff ranking like that, of course the committee is going to give Miami the head-to-head and get them into the playoffs. So, while it was an absolute shenanigan about the whole thing leading up to this point, they ended up rectifying the situation. Good on them. Major props for that. Now, an open letter to the Notre Dame fans. You're crying about missing out on the college football playoffs. You know how you can fix that? You can join a freaking conference. You can join a conference. You can have a legitimate schedule with strong opponents on a consistent basis. So if you fall short in 2 games early or earlier, and you still have tough opponents after that, you have an opportunity to overcome that hurdle. Look at Oklahoma. Coming out of week 10, coming out of week 9, Oklahoma's sitting at 6-2. They've lost to Texas. They've lost to Ole Miss. And everyone's like, oh yeah, Oklahoma's toast. They're 6-2. But then they come out and they play at Tennessee. They play at Alabama. They play Missouri. And they play LSU. Objectively, 4 tough teams. Yes, LSU's offense is terrible. But their defense is still pretty dang good. Heck, their DBs not even just the DBs. LSU getting 3 interceptions off of John Mateer making poor decisions. That's a pretty dang good defense. So, Oklahoma is sitting here with the same record as Notre Dame, with 2 losses that are in the top 15. And because they had other tough opponents and they overcame those hurdles, they're sitting here at the number 8 seed. So Notre Dame, if you don't want to miss out on the college football playoffs next year, join a freaking conference, play strong opponents on a consistent basis, and wins will get you more clout if you play tougher opponents. I get it. You're banking on being able to go 12-0 by playing 2 or 3 tough teams a year and then playing cupcakes the rest of the way. That's not how this is going to work if you lose those tougher games. So, join a conference and play tough opponents. Anyways, that's my soapbox about Notre Dame and why they're not in and why they should not be in and why they should never be in as long as they are not in a conference, or at least play. If they're an independent and they're consistently playing tough opponents, that's fine by me too. I don't really care if they join a conference or not. Have a tough schedule. Have tough opponents. Show the world that you really are deserving of a spot in the college football playoff. However, if you were to ask me, Steve, but Notre Dame should be in the college football playoff, I will see an argument for that, and here's why. G5. What are we doing? Because look, I love the G5. I don't have any personal ties to any G5 program, all right? But mad respect to the little guys out there. But goodness gracious, what are we doing? Oregon and Ole Miss hosting James Madison and Tulane respectively. Oregon and Ole Miss basically have bye weeks, and that is not meant as disrespect. That is not meant as shade at the G5 teams that have made it into the playoff because Virginia wasn't able to handle Duke. Go Blue Devils. I've got family at Duke, so there you go with that. That's my ACC squad. But ultimately, are these G5 teams going to have a legitimate shot at going to and winning a national championship game? Because I look at the other 10 teams in this lineup, okay? And let's run down the list again. Indiana, Ohio State, Georgia, Texas Tech, Oregon, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Oklahoma, Alabama, and Miami. I think all of them have enough in their bag to go out there and put up a fight and potentially get to a national championship game and win it. Do some have a better shot than others? Yes. Do I think Texas Tech has the best shot? No. I think that they're going to crumble once they face tougher trenches, right? Do I think Oklahoma's going to do it? Sadly, no. And I say that with the hat on, okay? Is the defense elite? Absolutely. They've gone and played in some insane environments, and they've dominated. They've dominated every game, save for the Ole Miss game and the third quarter of the Texas game. Only 5 quarters of their, 12 times 60, or 12 times 5, so that's 60, right? Or no? 48. They've dominated 43 of their 48 quarters this season. So the defense is elite and capable of doing it. It's a matter of if the offense can just do its part and come along. Georgia, I think, has a really good shot to go win it. Ohio State has a good shot. Indiana. Oregon, probably not as much. Ole Miss, unless their defense shows up, I don't think that they can necessarily do it. But point is, these first 10 teams in the playoffs, I think, have an actual shot to go out and do it. Others have better shots than others. Tulane and JMU have no chance. They're going to get dog-walked in the first round, without a doubt, in my mind. So what are we doing here? Because here's the thing. I think everyone would rather see Notre Dame and BYU, the first 2 teams out of the playoff, in the playoff instead. Because I think that they obviously have a much better shot than Tulane and James Madison at going to and competing for and winning a national championship. Now, the whole point of a 12-team playoff should be the 12 teams who have the best opportunity and capacity to go win that national championship. So again, at risk of repeating myself, Tulane and JMU, you don't. I'm sorry. All right? You don't have a legitimate shot to go win one, okay? Against these P4 teams that you will face next weekend, and the ones that you could face after that. For those that are just listening, not watching, I did the bunny ear air quotes with could there, okay? Because they're not going to. So ultimately, the committee, they need to abandon the auto bid system for the 5 highest ranked conference champions, in my humble opinion, okay? Yes, your conference championship game, especially a win, should give you extra credit in the eyes of the committee, okay? But take the 12 highest ranked teams, period, after championship week, all right? If you've won your conference, your ranking is going to reflect that. If you're in a position to go win your conference, it should reflect that. Now, of course, Duke going into the ACC championship at 7-5, you're not going to be ranked, all right? That's because you're 7-5. But play well enough throughout the season to a point where you are ranked in that top 12, go win your conference championship, you will get more consideration, all right? A conference championship should be an extra data point for your team. It should not be an automatic qualifier, in my humble opinion. Because everyone else that's trying to get into the playoffs has only played 12 games. You've played 13. You have some extra numbers to show the committee. And then, of course, just take the top 12 teams and rank them accordingly. If a G5 team somehow ends up in the top 12, great. No complaints here. All right? But ultimately, the entire playoff system has been an absolute nightmare because of this auto bid and the automatic, we're probably going to have to let the G5 show up at some point. Well, in fact, a G5 team is going to show up because if in a perfect world, if all of your P4 champions are ranked in that top 12, all right, you still have a 5th spot open for a G5 conference champion. So, yeah, just get rid of the auto bids. Take the 12 highest ranked teams overall and seed them accordingly. If you win a conference championship, great. But are you ranked high enough, or are you ranked high enough beforehand to be considered in? And does that championship win help your case? Which obviously it would, because it's a championship win. But yeah, just take the top 12, seed them accordingly. Enough with the auto bids. It's getting ridiculous. Now, to wrap up this CFP reaction bit, Oklahoma's set to play Alabama next Friday, December 19th, in the year of our Lord 2025, 7 p.m. Central Time, on Owen Field at Gaylord Family Oklahoma Memorial Stadium. It's going to be cold. It's going to be cold. It's going to be at night. And it's going to be epic. After 6 long years, the college football playoff and Oklahoma are having a crazy reunion. Will Oklahoma finally break the streak and win a college football playoff game? Because remember, Oklahoma's 0-4 in the playoffs. 2015 against Clemson, lost. 2017 in the Rose Bowl against Georgia, one of the greatest college football games that's ever been played, loss. Then, of course, the Sugar Bowl, Kyler Murray. Let's double check that. Yeah, 2018 Sugar Bowl. No, I lied. Oh, no. I look like an idiot right now. That would have been what, the Orange Bowl? Yeah, that was the Orange Bowl. Here we go. 2018 Orange Bowl with Kyler Murray. Lost that. And then the 2019, I think it was the Peach Bowl, where, yeah, 2019 Peach Bowl, Jalen Hurts versus Joe Burrow, 63-28. Goodness gracious, that was awful. But yeah, 0-4 in the playoffs. Can BV break the streak and become one of the most beloved members in OU football's history just by winning a playoff game? I think he has the ability to do it. I think the team does. And BV is already getting so much love right now with how he's been able to turn the program around in 4 years. And how sweet is it that Oklahoma's officially made the playoffs before Lincoln Riley? How awesome is that, right? Because frickin' Muleshoe takes off in the middle of the night, steals the entire coaching staff, most of the roster, just to chase more money and run away from the SEC because he's a freaking coward, to only end up to join the Big Ten anyways. And then leave his successor in Brent Venables, an absolute dumpster fire of a football program where guys are failing their drug tests, they're not showing up to class, they're not practicing hard, and in 4 years, Brent is able to turn it around, build the defense he wants, get a somewhat complementary offense that is not losing you games, and now you're sitting at 10-2 in the SEC, and you're going to the college football playoff, you're hosting a playoff game. Lincoln Riley running away was the best thing that has happened to Oklahoma football since I was born. Maybe Baker Mayfield. Baker Mayfield or Brent Venables. Baker Mayfield's entire career at Oklahoma and or Lincoln Riley leaving and Brent Venables coming in for him. The two best things to happen in the last 20 years at Oklahoma. So glad that we've got Brent Venables. Now, I like OU's odds in this, all right? In the last 2 matchups against Alabama, 1 at home, 1 in Tuscaloosa. OU is 2-0 in those games, 24-3 and 23-21 respectively. I like our odds. If the defense dominates the way that it has for 43 of 48 quarters this season, I like the odds there. Go after Ty Simpson, force those turnovers again. And if the offense can just hold on to the ball, finish drives with points, not sell out the defense and give them some time to rest, I like the odds of OU beating Alabama at home and going on to face Indiana in Pasadena at the Rose Bowl. But that is another conversation that we will be able to have in 2 weeks. Or we might be able to have in 2 weeks. We'll see how it goes. Now, this is an open letter to the coaching staff and the players. Brent, I beg you, watch the SEC championship tape. Because I guarantee you, Kirby Smart and the Bulldogs watched your defensive tape in Tuscaloosa to figure out how to get after Ty Simpson, stop the run game entirely. I guarantee you he took a look at that and said, okay, what can we do better? Now, I'm not saying you need to copy Kirby. I honestly think you're a better DC than Kirby. I think you're more creative. Okay? But go look at those pointers because they made Alabama look even worse than you made them look. So take some pointers. Don't necessarily copy it, but just be like, okay, what can we work with here? I have zeroed out that this Oklahoma team is capable of doing it. This defense that you guys got can do it without a doubt. The offense needs a little bit of work here. I mean, everyone knows this. Let's get it together. Let's get the quarterback cooled down, ready to go. Let's get the running backs healthy. Let's get R. Mason Thomas back. Let's get Jake Michaela back. Gentry Williams, unfortunately, buddy, shoulder surgery. We love you. We're going to miss you. Man, I feel bad for Gentry. But ultimately, you guys got this. You got 2 weeks. This is it. We've been in ride or die mode since the 1st of November. Go get it done. Go get it done. Now, reminder to all you guys out there, that game, again, is on Friday, December 19th, year of our Lord 2025, 7 p.m. Central Time kickoff at Owen Field. Sooner Nation, we got to show out. This is going to be one of the biggest games we've ever had at home in a long time. And we said that about the Michigan game in early September. We said that about Alabama last year, after the fact, of course, because we all thought we were going to get killed. Instead, we did the killing. But this is going to be one of the biggest games that OU's had at home in a very long time. So Sooner Nation, show out. I already went and bought my Hard to Kill hoodie. Okay? I bought that today. Show up. Help the boys be hard to kill. Boomer Sooner, guys. We can freaking do it. Gonna freaking do it. Well, Sooner Nation, after my emotional TED Talk, that is going to wrap it up for this edition of the WhackoWeekly podcast, where we break down all things OU football from this last week. And we will see y'all next Thursday, not Friday, for the college football playoff first round's Wacko preview instead of our regular slot on Friday, because the game is on Friday, so we'll be doing it on a Thursday, 8 a.m. Central Time slot. But if you don't want to miss it, be sure to like, comment, hit that subscribe button, hit that bell button so you don't miss the episode and the Wacko review that'll follow the Monday after, and hopefully another Wacko preview for the Rose Bowl. Plus, you can follow us on all of our socials, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter X, all at Wacko Sooners for live news updates, game highlights, and some memes to keep it lighthearted and fun like we like it here in Sooner Nation. Go hit those follows and subs so you're always in the Wacko loop. We would love to have you here. And we will see you on Monday next week. Take it easy, Sooner Nation. Boomer Sooner.